On the first day of the new year, a clear message was actually delivered from the leadership of Burkina Faso.
Du côté de la diplomatie de Burkina Faso,
the message was calm, direct, and focused on the future. It described a change in how the countries plans to act in the world. This message did not come with threat or loud language. It came with firm words about direction, values, and choice. It marked the start of a new phase in foreign policy shaped by current global conditions, ladies and gentlemen, and national priorities. Yes, so on January 1st, 2026, the head of state of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré, announced a move towards an active and independent foreign policy. This policy is designed to reflect, today's geopolitical realities. The announcement showed that the country wants to take part in international relations in a way that reflects its own interests and decisions. Yes, so the focus was on action, independence, and clarity of purpose. The statements, made clear that Burkina Faso is not closing itself off from the world. The country remains open to cooperation. It is willing to work with partners from different regions and backgrounds. However, this cooperation is defined by clear rules. The central rule is respect. Any partnership must respect the country's sovereignty, freedom, and of course, dignity at last. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, the authorities stress that sovereignty is not a symbolic word. It is a guiding principle that stated that no foreign power will be allowed to impose its will or conditions on Burkina Faso. This point was, emphasized as part of the new diplomatic approach. Okay, so the message was presented in a calm and formal tone without naming specific countries or actors. So this approach places the decision-making firmly within international institutions. It signals that external pressure will not determine the country's choices. Instead, relations will be based on mutual agreements and shared understanding. The goal is to ensure that all cooperation aligns with national priorities. The announcement also reflected an awareness of changing global conditions. The leadership referred to the modern geopolitical realities. This phrase indicates an effort to adjust policies to current international dynamics. It suggests that, ladies and gentlemen, the country is reviewing how it engages with others in light of these conditions. So, ladies and gentlemen, another key part of the message focused on the people of Burkina Faso living outside the country. The diaspora was given special attention. The leadership highlighted the importance of preserving patriotism among citizens abroad. This includes maintaining strong emotional and cultural ties to the homeland. The role of the diaspora was described in practical terms. Citizens living abroad were encouraged to help strengthen the image of Burkina Faso overseas. They were also encouraged to invest in the country's development. These actions were presented as constructive ways to support national progress. So, ladies and gentlemen, in response, the state made a commitment. Authorities said they will create secure mechanisms for return and investment. This means that the government plans to put systems in place that allow members of the diaspora to come back home safely or invest without with confidence rather. So definitely the statement did not include the details, but it clearly expressed with intent. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, now this focus on the diaspora connects foreign policy with national development. It shows that the diplomacy is not only about relations between governments. It also involves people, identity, and of course long-term national goals. The message treated the diaspora as a partner in the country's future. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this point episode, if you actually find value in a clear and factual reporting like this, you may consider liking this video. First of all, subscribe to this particular channel and enable notifications. Staying informed through reliable news helps build understanding of global events and long-term developments. Yes, so let's continue deeper. The announcement also addressed national cooperation. It referred to the Confederation of Sahel States, known as AES for short. According to the statement, the year 2025 was a time of formation and key decisions for the Confederation. This period was described as important for getting direction and of course structure. The following year, 2026, was identified as a phase of consolidation. This means that, ladies and gentlemen, strengthening what has already been built. The goal for this stage is to reinforce achievements and increase Confederation's presence on the global stage. The language used was measured and forward looking. The reference to the Confederation placed Burkina Faso's foreign policy within a national context. It shows that whilst the country emphasizes sovereignty, it also values collective frameworks. These frameworks are seen as tools for cooperation and shared positioning in global affairs. So the announcement concluded with a long-term vision. The country stated its intention to consistently uphold a diplomacy based on respect and, of course, equality. So this principle applies to all international relations. The focus is on mutual interest rather than political pressure. So, ladies and gentlemen, this vision frames diplomacy as a steady process. It is not, described as a reactive or temporary. Instead, it is actually presented as a consistent approach that will guide interactions over time. The emphasis on equality suggests a desire for balanced relationships. Throughout the statement, ladies and gentlemen, the tone remained neutral and, of course, composed. There were no cause for confrontation. There were no expressions for hostility. The message focused on principles, direction, and of course structure. It outlined how Burkina Faso sees its place in international relations moving forward, ladies and gentlemen. So this actually marked the opening chapter of a broader diplomatic course. The details shared on January 1st, set the foundation for future actions and decisions. The full impact of this approach will unfold over time, guided by the principles that were clearly stated. The story continues as this policy framework begins to take shape in practice, influencing how the country engages with partners, regional bodies, and its own citizens abroad. After the announcement of the new foreign policy direction, attention moved towards how this approach defines cooperation, ladies and gentlemen. So the leadership actually described cooperation as open but clearly bounded. The country stated that it is ready to work with all sincere partners. Sincerity was linked to the respect of national values and legal authority. So cooperation was framed as a mutual process rather than a one-sided agreement. So ladies and gentlemen, guess what? The principles of sovereignty was placed as the center of this framework. Sovereignty was described as non-negotiable. It was also not presented as a barrier to dialogue. Instead, it was defined as the foundation that allows dialogue to exist on equal terms. So ladies and gentlemen, now the message stressed that freedom and dignity are part of this same foundation. Officials emphasized that no external power or force will be allowed to impose decisions or conditions. This point was stated clearly and without elaboration. The message suggested that partnerships will move forward only when both sides accept this limit. So this position reshapes how agreements are viewed. Agreements are no longer described as instruments of influence. They are described as tools for shared benefit. Each agreement must align with national interest. Each relationship must respect internal decision processes. This approach places responsibility on national institutions to guide outcomes. The announcement also reflected an effort to simplify diplomatic language. The words used were direct and accessible. This made the message understandable to a broad audience. Ladies and gentlemen, guess what? It showed an intention to communicate foreign policy not only to diplomats but also to citizens. Yes. So another important part of the policy focused on people beyond the country's borders. Citizens living abroad were addressed as an active part of the nation. So the leadership highlighted their role in protecting national identity whilst living in other countries. This was described as an important form of contribution. The message encouraged the diaspora to strengthen the country's image abroad. This includes how the country is seen socially, culturally, and of course economically. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, this is Africa, right? So the leadership linked this effort to long-term development. The diaspora was not presented as separate from national life. It was presented as connected and involved. Investment was also mentioned as a key role for citizens abroad. The leadership spoke about investing in the development of the homeland. This was framed as a voluntary and of course constructive act. It was linked to trust in national systems and future stability. Ladies and gentlemen, now guess what? To support this, the state made a clear promise. Authorities said they will create secure mechanisms for return and investment. Yes. So these mechanisms were described as protective and reliable, whilst two technical details were given. So the commitment itself was emphasized as part of the new policy direction. This promise signals a two-way relationship. Citizens abroad are encouraged to engage in return. The state was committed to creating conditions that allow safe participation. This balance reflects the broader diplomatic principle of mutual respect. So ladies and gentlemen, the policy also placed regional cooperation within this structure the Confederation of Sahel States, for short AES state, was described as the key framework. The statement identified 2025 as a year of formation, and decision was on making this period was linked to setting the groundwork for future cooperation. So ladies and gentlemen, the following year 2026 was also described as a time for consolidation. This means that, ladies and gentlemen, reinforcing structures already was created. It also means strengthening the Confederation's role in information in international affairs. The focus was on stability and continuity rather than rapid change. So ladies and gentlemen, by placing these timelines side by side, the message showed a plan was progression. It suggested that regional cooperation is being developed step by step. As this framework moves forward, its effect will be seen in decisions, partnerships, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, institutional actions. The direction has also been stated clearly. The next phase lies in how these principles are applied over time. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this video. Don't forget to actually forward this video to a neighbor like you, so that they can actually also better understand the first message that was actually meted out to to the public by the leadership of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré.